Jeff Kinard is Executive Vice President of Corporate Development at Prometheus Group, helping shape the company's growth through strategic partnerships and smart solutions. With Prometheus since 2009, Jeff plays a key role in making sure the platform evolves with customer needs. He's known for staying focused on the people who actually use the tech, thoughtful, grounded, and always putting the end user first. Jeff, welcome back to the stand.
Hey, Jeff, really great to have you here. Have a conversation with you about what's going on out in the industry, asset management, technology. We just spent a week here learning about some of the things that...
It's been a great week.
It has been. It actually has been a great week. It's a great community.
Yeah.
You know, people, we have kind of two different conference audiences. These folks here are working at the application, trying to make the data and the technology really sing. And the people at our other conferences are trying to make the assets sing. And
right.
How do we get the two of them together? And you know, here, this has traditionally been about how to manage work and how to, you know, get the information on the work order accurately and things of that nature, which still companies struggle with those basics. And now they've been offered all this potential around asset lifecycle management and reliability and condition monitoring and AI and so many opportunities.
Oh, yeah. There's APM, there's visual inspection, there's a lot of capabilities, right?
I mean, if somebody brought that to my business and said there's 23 things that our software can do that you're not doing right now, you know, my first thought would be, there's no way I can get my team to do 23 new things in the course of the next year.
Yeah.
So how do we get our, you know, it does look like a great opportunity.
It's a great opportunity. I think, you know, I always like to focus on the blocking and tackling first. And I do think that people tend to want to skip that, and they may say, hey, Mass 8, it's going to do this. Mass 9 is going to do this. Once we move over to there, hey, we've got all this stuff. We're going to see all of the ROI. All the potential is unlocked. But what I kind of am starting to see now is companies are saying, hey, maybe instead of just, and I'm a strong proponent of this, maybe instead of just taking the data we have in 7, right, and just, hey, as is, moving it over here into 8, we're saying, hey, maybe we need to cleanse this. We need to enrich this data. We need to be more consistent. Hey, we've had a bunch of acquisitions. We've bought these other plants. We've done this. And so it's interesting. I hadn't seen that a lot in the Maximo space, and now I'm starting to see that because, hey, with all this new capabilities, right, especially with, you know, the condition monitoring that you brought up, with APM and with AI, and, you know, we don't even have to get into that. It's all about your data. Like, it doesn't mean anything if the data isn't right. And so so that was actually exciting to see more folks starting to really take that seriously and wanting to do that, because that's going to lay your foundation. And then you want to get into condition monitoring, you want to do that. I think that's really where you got to get started.
Now, I do know your company's offering data, master data as a service. That's got to really blow people's head. What do you mean master data as a service? How could that be a service?
Well, I think our idea, it's like a little bit of a paradigm shift, because most of the time when you think about data cleansing and migration and that, it's a project. It's a big consulting project. But they ask the customer, hey, how do you want this to work? What do you want your taxonomy to be? You know, do you want a colon, a semicolon, a dash? How do you want to do this? And then the customer's like, hey, I don't know. I haven't thought about that. Let me take it to this site. And this site wants this, and then this site wants that. But really, at the end of the day, you just want clean data. You want to be able to find the material that you're looking for. You don't want a duplicate. So we're a software company. We're not trying to do big projects. So we said, hey, why reinvent the wheel? Let's just have a standard taxonomy that's based on, you know, ISO 14224. That's based on UNS PSC codes and that. Let's have a standardized catalog profile with damage codes and cause codes, and we'll take your data and then we just run it through there and we assign it. We have a library, so we make it easy. The other part that's really important though is after these projects, right? Is, hey, how do I keep the data clean? Because folks are adding it, and so the as a service piece is hey, we have this front end. Anytime you need to add a new record, goes through here, you approve it, and it makes sure no one's just kind of creating stuff in the Wild West.
And you know, you mentioned, because we see that all the time now, you know, the company just bought 8 new facilities from somebody who was operating even different software, and their data is going to be different. So, and a lot of times it just sits out there. It doesn't get integrated back into the center. Would master data clean?
Oh yeah, that's all part of it. And so we're going to take, again, that taxonomy. We don't have to reinvent the wheel.
I see.
And we're going to find, oh, you've got this part at this plant and at this plant. You made this acquisition. It's called something else over here. We're going to standardize it to your standard. And now we know, okay, hey, this is the same material master. It's extended to this plant. And we move on. Same thing with your equipment. Hey, I have 100 of these pumps, right? I want to have a standardized catalog profile for that. Because when I see an issue pop up on this pump, hey, how did I treat this before? How did I do it in this plant? What was the damage code? What was the cause code? And that's really, when we talk about condition-based monitoring, when we talk about APM, we talk about prescriptive maintenance, that's the stuff that you need. Is, hey, last time I saw this with this pump, maybe it was in this plant, this is what we did to resolve it. This is what the issue was. So let's go and be proactive and take a look.
Well, let's take the other side of that. Now, we're seeing all these AI-infused tools to assist the work during the course of the day and things of that nature. Very clever.
Oh, yeah.
Seems like a lot of utility. Now paint the picture for us about using these new tools that are starting to emerge that are sort of assistant tools for the technicians and the operators and things of that nature. If the master data is not in good shape, does that have an effect on the ability to use these assistant tools better?
Oh, for sure. I mean, look, you actually introduced OpenAI to me. Like you were bringing that up to me a few years ago. You're like, man, you need to check this thing out. It's over here, and it is wild. Just all the prompts that you could put in there. But then you'll start to kind of see, oh, hey, because it's pulling from just all the data sources. Sometimes you're going to get something that's not accurate, or you're going to see this. So, I think with AI, it got a huge. A lot of publicity, and a lot of companies are diving right into it, and they say, hey, this is the value that you're going to get in the ROI. And now that it's starting to settle down a bit, we're starting to say, okay, where can this really be useful, and how can we get the most out of it? And it's the same as your first question. Hey, if I move to Mass 8, is it going to resolve all this? So the most important part is to have quality data and a good knowledge base. Otherwise, you're going to, hey, the assistant is going to tell you something that's not necessarily accurate, right? And so that's why I say, hey, you really got to have your data right, because then if you're consistent there, when you ask it that question, well, hey, Frank actually went over here at this plant and he saw this issue and here's how he resolved it. Here's the work order that he did. Here's the service request. Here's the last 10 work orders that were worked on this equipment type. So if you're nice and cleansed there, those assistants are going to be awesome. They're going to be rock solid for you. Pulling up documents, making sure you're consistent on that, your P&IDs, all that stuff. I think that technology is super exciting. And when we talk about APM, you're pulling all this sensor data. You've got this data historian. That's your data. You millions of hours worth of equipment data. So if you associate that correctly to your maintenance records, to your assets in Maximo, then those assistants are going to be able to tell, oh, last time the temperature went like this or the vibration was like this. Here's what that led to. Here's what we did to resolve that, right?
Is data quality cultural or is it technical?
That's a great question. You always ask the deep ones. I think it's...
Because you say you can help them get to perfection, but then you go home. So now you get this client to perfection, but now they have to, maintain the data the next.
I'm actually glad. So now you got me thinking. So I actually think it's mainly cultural.
Wow.
Because the technical part of it is just kind of like, hey, we have to jump this hurdle to say this is our taxonomy and this is what it needs to look like. But once you get past that, and again, I say, why come up with that yourself? You guys refine, you guys manufacture, you guys mine, right. You guys mill. Why come up with that? Just use the standards that are out there. And once you accept that, then it really is the culture. It's the process. It's just making sure that you follow those steps every step of the way, and everybody agrees to do it. It is cultural. Right.
There's always two sides to the technology. There's the people who have to use it to do their job. And then there's the people who run the technology and then want the data and the reports and the insights from it.
Those guys got to work together.
So that's what you're saying at the beginning there, is that you got to get everybody involved.
Yeah, because I think if you only think about it from the tech perspective, like the culture's not going to adopt it. is what I think it is, because they're, hey, well, this is how it needs to look because, this is how our business thinks about this, or hey, this is a proprietary taxonomy that we're going to get this value from, and then it's forced down on the folks that are actually getting their hands on the equipment or actually planning that work. So those guys need to work together and just understand what's the most important thing. What is the goal of this data being cleansed, like at the end of the day? And it is, hey, I need to find this part. I need to make sure it's in the warehouse. I need to make sure I know what's a critical spare. I need to make sure that I'm consistent with my damage codes and my cause codes.
What about cloud, cybersecurity? Does all that play any role? I mean, is everything eventually going to the cloud? Should everything go to the cloud? Is it more secure? We're hearing almost an opposite of what we heard 10 years ago. We can't go to the cloud.
Yeah.
We need security.
It's happened
now
fast.
We're saying, I have to go to the cloud. I need security. What happened there?
I mean, that's the shift, right? Like, folks are now saying, hey, we do want to focus on what we do best, and there's all these companies that are going to host this, and they're going to do this, that are going to assist us in doing what we do best. So it does feel like that shift is happening. Now, in public sector and all that, that's taking a lot longer, and we'll see kind of how that plays out. But it seems like most folks are definitely very open to it. The big thing that I'm seeing is, hey, when are people going to be open to like a public kind of cloud for their ERP or their EAM and that? And that's big, but the ERPs are pushing for that because of, man, all this private cloud hosting, it's just so big, it's so costly. But I mean, from a security standpoint, I think there's so many certifications and so many different ways that you can prove that you're safe and you're secure that I think folks are starting to become more open to it. I mean, everything that AWS and Azure and all these
They seem to have built a lot of good protection.
They've built a lot, and so most of the solutions are on there.
I know your company also offers things related to safety and permitting and tag out and lockout and things of that nature. Does data quality have anything to do with safety?
Oh, yeah. I think that's the thing that folks aren't thinking about is the importance of this being integrated. And again, being integrated in a Maximo. So typically for health and safety, it's a different crew over here that's doing that. They have a different system. They're not logging in to a Maximo. And so, work request comes in. We need to do this work in this area. It's on this equipment. It's in this area. Hey, this requires a permit to work, but also a hot work permit, a confined space. And so oftentimes it's recreating the wheel every time. Hey, I'm doing this job. Okay, where is it? It's over here. Well, what do I need to do? If you have good data and you integrate these solutions in with your asset records, then, hey, it's in this area. That's already on the work order, right? It's in this area. It's this kind of work. Okay, I know it needs to be a confined space permit. I know it's a hot work permit, because it's this kind of work. And so we want to let's just make that permit request automatic and it's consistent every time. The isolation management piece, which is huge. Hey, I know this needs to be done, this needs to be done, this needs to be de-energized, I need to do this. Being consistent about that is so huge. And the only way you're going to be consistent is if you do tie it to that data. So again, that's why all roads lead back to your data.
And what about, how the audience here seems a little overwhelmed with all the opportunity?
Oh, yeah.
So what's your advice to them to sort of activate towards this new future?
I think it's super exciting. It's going to settle in and folks are going to kind of figure out how to get the most out of their system, how to get the most out of the AI. But like I said, I think you can't skip that step. I would really look at this opportunity or look at this as an opportunity to do that data cleansing work and update that. You've been running the system for so long. There's all kinds of inconsistencies. Just look into it. Work with someone, work with your SI or whoever to look into that. And use this as an opportunity to not just migrate the data as it is, but hey, let's see how we can start at a really good baseline and move from there so that we can make sure we're getting the most out of all this really cool new tech that is being offered to us.
And I know there's really positive long-term effects to cleaning up the data. Is there anything that happens after you clean up the data on Friday? What's Monday like? The month is there a short-term effect?
Oh yeah, I mean, what happens when you do this is like one really big short-term effect that you have off the bat is your carrying costs, your inventory. So you kind of find out, oh, I have all these duplicates. I'm carrying both of these things. Or hey,
because they had two different names, two different numbers.
And two different names. I'm carrying them. So you can actually reduce your carrying costs like that. We have a lot of projects that are totally paid just based on the carrying cost, but then also the potential savings of, hey, we have our critical spares here. We know what those are. We've correctly identified those. The potential savings if there is an outage, how quick we can get back on it. That's the stuff that happens during the cleansing process. Like it happens before you go live. So that's why I say like take the time to do that.
Wow.
That's super low hanging fruit. And then day one, when you do go live, all that's happened. Then it's, hey, I'm not free texting my requisitions anymore. I'm getting the most out of the procurement team's hard work that they've done to get these contracts with the vendors. We're not ordering the incorrect parts. We're not putting too much stress on procurement. And I'll tell you, like, procurement, there's always the back and forth. I mean, procurement loves to complain about, the stuff that they get from the maintenance teams. So doing that just really alleviates a lot of that friction and just allows us to work better.
Wow, I like it. I like it very much. And now, I don't think it's just cost savings. We've seen instances where, they're making some life-saving cancer drug and the part, that they need is missing. And they have a sister plant that has an exact same operation. They check with it. They say, no, we don't have that in stock. It is there. It's just called something different than they call it at this facility.
It's called something different I'm glad you brought this up too. I think the weakest area of asset data that I see is bill of materials. And the bill of materials, it's so important. But you ask anybody, like, hey, how for all of your assets, how many bills of materials do you actually have? And we'll actually run that report for a lot of our customers. But hey, what was your guess? Because it's actually 28% or 25%, and you have 100 of these pumps and you have different bills of materials associated. And so like you said, hey, if I can, I know it's in the stores over at this plant, but hey, maybe it's a very expensive part and it's on a particular piece of equipment that's a redundant equipment at this other plant. And you can see it on your BOM. You can borrow that thing and now you're up and running at this site.
We've seen, they talk about this knowledge drain, from the older workers retiring and not capturing the knowledge. We've seen some smart, very few, but a few smart companies, as those workers retire or about to retire, and we've even seen post-retirement, they hire them back as contractors to write
the double dipping,
to write the BOMs.
Yeah.
And it's a way to capture some of the knowledge.
Yeah, it's a way to do it, but that's why. Cultural, right?
Right.
Like you said. So that's why I think, hey, you go in, you focus on that, you focus on your data, you focus on your bombs. Hey, have a little grace. Don't be nervous about it. Don't feel bad if some of the data's gotten out of hand. It's still worth looking into it. And then, hey, from there, we can build that up. But you don't want to have to do that. I mean, the workforce is aging out. We have new folks that are coming in that work differently, that think differently. But we have to prime them up with the right data. We can't expect them to have, hey, I've worked in here for 20 years. I know what BOM is like this. Right. I know what the isolation points are. I know what needs to happen for all these steps. Like that's going away. You're bringing in folks that are coming in from school and they're just, hey, I just need to know how this thing works. We got to educate them. And by the way, that's like where AI is going to be huge. The assistants.
Yeah.
I don't know this plant. I don't know this equipment. What can you tell me about
it? Give us a year from now.
A year from now?
Are you hopeful? Are you?
Oh yeah.
Anxious?
I think people are starting to settle down and kind of realize, okay, hey, mass AI, it's not curing all the world's problems. Now we're starting to say, okay, what can we really get out of this? So, I think we're going to start to see better use cases.
Yeah.
We're already starting to see that. Like I said it in a really fun presentation earlier with the visual inspection.
Right.
And it's, hey, we take these pictures of this and now we can train the engine to do this and all the image recognition stuff. That's a really cool use case that can be used, anywhere. So we're starting to see that stuff take hold. I think the data folks are starting to say, hey, without the good data, the AI is not going to give us this value that we've been promised. So I think folks are going to be thinking about that more. So that's what I'm excited about. Is I'm all about the real stuff. You know this. Like,
Yeah,
hey, how can I get a real result out of all this really
Out of all the sizzle.
Yeah, so I think now people are starting to say, okay, what do I really need to focus on? What are these 1 or 2 or 3 projects that I want to go deep into and get ROI from?
Awesome. That's great. Well, I look forward to talking to you next year. Let's see if that comes so.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
All right, Jeff. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Great speaking to you.